So couchsurfing.com is where you put your own bed, your own couch into the website, and people can come and stay at your couch for free. And it's very much, I want to say, it's very much like hotels to a certain extent. And we think, you know, what kind of person is doing couch surfing? So it could be, oh man, so I missed my favorite one. So it could be, you could be getting cat lady. So maybe it's cat lady that's sharing her, willing to put her couch on. It could be a real cat lady on a couch, which is even less appealing to go stay with her. Could be men with big dogs. Could be staying at their house. But in fact, what couch surfing really looks like is these are real, not Photoshop. I just plucked them from the website at Couch Surfing really fast. Real people who are using couch surfing, and including me. And I did this, I had a person, 2 people stay at my house in Boston, and I'm doing this for research purposes. I actually just pulled my house off because I'm leaving Boston shortly. But I had a family of 5 come stay at my house last week, which was really something. But they were not axe murderers, nor were they, rapists. They stayed at our house. They were very nice. They had 3 adult daughters. They got to meet me and my family, and they got to see America as it is in some parts. So here's this idea of couch surfing, where end users using a technology platform are putting this stuff on. So I want to show you the comparison of couch surfing with hotels. So couch surfing right now, it's 7 years old. It has 850,000 couches, beds, in 200 countries, 71,000 cities. That's a lot. So let's compare this with what's happening elsewhere. Hotels. The largest hotel in the world is 60 years old, 650,000 beds, in 100 countries. Just imagine the investment and the time and the complication of building those hotels, choosing the right spots, some went under, some didn't go under. Just the level of effort and time and money that went into building the intercontinental hotel chain compared to couch surfing. I mean, I just look at this and I want you to be awed. I am in awe. Like, how astounding in 7 years what this guy has accomplished. Okay, another example. This is my other favorite example. Does anyone recognize this guy? This is the person who invented chat roulette. Do you guys know chat roulette? Yeah. So Andre is not a 45-year-old man, although I have to say he looks a lot like them. But the pimples tell the tale. So Andre, here he is, and I have some examples of couch surfing, just in case you didn't know what it was. So chat roulette. There's you, I think it's you at the top? No, yeah. No, you're at the bottom and your stranger's at the top. And so, you say, yo, where do you live? And he says, I'm from Estonia. And you say, oh, Estonia's awesome. And you say, so do you do the exercise in Estonia? And then both of you, for some reason, have barbells next to your laptop and you pick them up. You start doing exercise next to your laptop. Or this person is surfing through chat roulette, going. And then, can you believe he actually hits on someone else who has heart-shaped glasses? Like, it's a preposterous idea. Here's another example. So if you surf along and you meet Bert, you have to look like Bert. And of course, if you have chat roulette, you have to have cat roulette, obviously. So there's cat roulette. So here is, I want to say last month was an interview with Andre in the New York Times. And I do want to read this out loud because I think this comes to where the future is going here. So how long did it take to build it? It took me 3 days. I built it on an old computer that was in my bedroom. Then what happened? Well, at first I showed it to my friends and they criticized it. And then they asked why would anyone want to use it. So I went onto a few web forums and asked people to try out the site. And I got 20 people to try it. Okay, so here's the kicker. How many users do you have now? 6 months since you opened it. Well, after the initial 20 users, the site doubled, and it continued to double every day since then. Last month, I saw 30 million unique visitors come to the website. 1 million new people visit each day. It continues to multiply, and I just couldn't stop it from growing. So there's Andre. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. And I put down the list down the side here just quickly. Why could Andre do this so quickly and easily? Because There was Adobe that existed. There was JavaScript. He had HTML, you know, he had TCP/IP. He could do this other stuff. Everyone had their web browsers. People had video cameras built into their web browsers. They all had email and Facebook and Twitter to tell their friends. So there's all this excess capacity and all this other stuff out there. So he could add his one cool little piece on top, using all this other excess capacity without any new money, 30 million in 6 months, 1 million new guys a day. Really remarkable, really, really remarkable. So end user content and excess capacity really drives things. Okay, another example. So of course, the iPhone. And I know that it's not an open thing, but let's pretend it's mostly open, semi-open. And he had to fight. Steve Jobs had to be persuaded and corralled by people like you in this room to go do it. Because remember, as Andre said, he couldn't stop it from multiplying. He couldn't stop it from happening. Steve Jobs could not help the future from happening. It had to happen. He was forced to open it up. And in 2 years, 150,000 applications. I think this slide is 2 months old, so I think it's about 200,000 applications today. There is no, you could not have, Apple alone and the engineers at Apple could not have come up with 200,000 applications. Their brains aren't that big. They don't have that amount of time. What it required was engineers with their excess creativity and their own stuff on their own free time who were able to come up with these apps. And to this point around innovation and iteration, there's a ton of those apps that are stupid. Stupid, stupid, stupid. We know they're stupid. And there's some of those apps that are killer apps, and there's some of those apps that are so brilliantly creative that who would have, I mean, it's just astounding to have thought of them. So the stupidest app I went to look up when I was thinking was, this one's so amusing to me. It's called Hold the Button. And Hold the Button is, you have your iPhone, you hold the button, and you see how long you can hold it. Compared to your peers, compared to the world. It's kind of like I have children, and you play the silent game. How long can you be silent? It's like anyone would buy that. What an inane game. And then a similar hold the button that I thought was brilliant was a teach yourself how to play guitar and chords. So turn your iPhone sideways and do frets and learn how to play the guitar, chords and the guitar. That is a brilliant application. You could be wrong finger position, do another one. But it's something that, how many of us would have thought of that? And the point I further want to make is that the stupid-ass application, so what? You know, so what? Who cares? If that person if you had to buy a whole iPhone for the application, no go. So only because it's excess capacity that we can have those applications. Each one of those applications doesn't have to merit a $500 device. They're all doing this extra, they're all on the extra. We have to pull the device with one killer application and the rest is for free. So when I look at this and I think of the world's problems today, we need speed and scale, and the only way we're going to get speed and scale is to have people plus platforms. So end user stuff and a platform that organizes those end users. And now I want to kind of finish with what Sasha knows is my dream of all dreams, and you guys are part of the dream. So what I really want to have is an open source mesh network that is a best in class, that would go into every single one of those cars that are going to be driving around doing congestion pricing and road user fees, paying tolls, and if it's an open device in the car, we'll be doing all those other 1,000 things. We'll be telling Robin that time to come home for dinner because my husband told me to. Or it'll be, I joke about the Cinderella box in my car that says to my 16-year-old daughter, this is not true, who's learned how to drive, midnight the car doesn't work anymore, it turns into a pumpkin unless you call me, and I'll unlock the door for you and enable the ignition again and you get to come home. Otherwise, you go because your car turns off. But my point is that we're going to have wireless devices in cars. It's so stupid and pointless to have closed, proprietary, monopolistic, telco-driven devices in the cars, when what we really need is an open device in the car onto which you can download any kind of app you want, and which forms a part of a mesh network, so that local data can stay local, and now fully understood in the last 4 years of talking to Sasha and people like you, that I do think it's not going to be just wireless. As we know, you have to have wireless and wired. And I do understand profoundly that it is this symbiosis going on. But there is, here, I think my next slide does it. If we think about this, look at this chart here. This is Cisco. Cisco's projections for mobile broadband demand over the next 5 years. And I look at this, and I ask the telco providers, do you honestly think that anyone could be building this out? Is there any chief financial officer who can look at this and think, yeah, I'm willing to make that investment? And then even imagine they're willing to make that investment? Is it physically possible to actually open the roads up and build this up? No. I think, no, it is physically impossible. You have to go the mesh network route. We have to get stuff that can be taken off of those, stuff that can stay local to stay local, stuff that is cached to get access through by cache. We have to have end users contributing. My laptop, my traffic light, my car, all those things have to be contributing to wireless connectivity. So, and I look at it and I think it's the only way that we can deliver the speed and scale at a cost and price point that we can afford. And I think everyone stands to benefit. And just to remind you, at the speed at which things can happen when you have end users participate, so we can. So imagine if we exploited excess wireless capacity. So in the smart grid as it's being built out throughout many parts of the world, smart cars that are really smart and not stupid, smart infrastructure, and really connecting all of these nodes as peers. And I had never realized that I had that backwards. So collecting these peers as nodes, yep. And so where end users bring their own assets to create local wireless networks. And if we think of collaborative production, I think we can have collaborative infrastructure and collaboratively financed infrastructure. And this is where I think we need to go. And so this goes to, so this is just, this is the road network in the United States. So picture where there are roads, there are human beings. And if we think of the distance, we were talking this morning about how far the signal can travel between the nodes, everybody's covered. If we could get these cars and traffic lights and laptops, everybody is covered. When we go to the rural versus the urban, this is the way things need to go. And so clearly useful around the world that if we can get an open source mesh best in class that's used ubiquitously and solve and nail this problem, we could do it at really high speeds with really low cost, and I want it to happen. And I think it's going to be happening because back to the immortal words of 18-year-old Andre, it continues to multiply, and I just couldn't stop it from growing. The tools are out there. We really have it within our reach, so close now. And I think whether or not we can break down the status quo towers that block things up, I think that it's going to happen anyway. I want us to break down those towers, but even if it doesn't, it will happen inevitably. So to pull all the things I said to you together, for your future talking points and for us to discuss now, that to think not only about things as collaborative and distributed production and consumption, that is, both of these things will lead us to a more sustainable world, a more cost-efficient world, much more opportunity. When we talk about public-private partnerships, to remember that there's actually another sector that is us, so it's public-private and people partnerships. Realize in your own countries that this is the moment to be weighing in on transportation, transportation technology for transportation, because right at this moment in all of your governments, they're discussing building closed proprietary monopoly systems. And this is the moment to be saying, no, it's time to open things up. And I'm getting much more success at that in the US, but you guys are going to be doing work in your own cities and countries. The work that you're doing, I started out saying that what you're doing is the future. You guys are an embodiment, an example of how open isn't scary. Open is a fabulous thing. You can produce things that there's incredibly great community benefits. You can do things at low cost and really efficiently. These are things that government-centric wants to hear, and the private sector also wants to hear. Immediately before this, we were talking again about business models. You do have to work on business models, but I think there's a lot of room to find those business models, because the way there's so much inefficiently used equipment and inefficient communication paths that they are unstable. We are much more stable where it's cost efficient and the path is the best path. So there's a lot of room there. And push governments for their own spending to require openness, because that is the right thing to do with our tax dollars and the right thing for their economies to grow. So there's my points. There's, if you want to get hold of me, let's talk.
Flood the network or do some crazy experiment and destroy everything, or you can do it, but no one will tell you anything because they won't lose anything. Okay, it's an experiment, it's a game. But I understood that you want to use this network for accounting or something. So many people will want to abuse that. Many people will try to abuse it. So it's not like you want people to collaborate and be part of this network, but what's the motivation to do this?
So there's two different questions there, it seems to me. One is security and one is motivation.
It's actually it's motivation. How do you protect this from being abused?
So let's talk about the security piece.
You're telling someone, come on, be part of my network so I can build your car.
The car piece is another bigger issue, and I can tell you that, but I feel like that's going to go down a different path. To this issue of security, I think it's a huge issue, and it's one that this community and others need to resolve. I met last week, I had breakfast with a guy who does security for IBM, and he pointed out to me, and I'm so happy to be able to give you guys this parallel, is that as Sasha and I have been talking for the last 4 years, it's an issue. We absolutely have to resolve it, and we're never going to resolve it until we start experimenting more and locking down those things and figuring out how to identify rogue guys and whatever ways we do it. But what he pointed out to me, it was so interesting. Aaron's laughing at me. Okay, Aaron would answer that question, but he pointed out to me a beautiful parallel, which was cloud computing is now giving the business world that exact same parallel, because you don't know who you're talking to and which you can't be for sure which particular cloud and who's holding your data, where it is, and how it's going to change. So the business community is having to resolve in their own security guise having an uncertainty in where their data and their communication goes, and they're going to have to solve that problem. And as they solve that problem, become comfortable with that problem, I think it's the same thing with nodes. It's the exact, I feel like there's a really strong parallel there. So I think it is an issue. I think it can be resolved. And then the last piece that I answer flippantly, I'm not an engineer. I should have my little I am not an engineer t-shirt, is mesh networking was designed by the